General Hospital spoilers. Jason's fury erupts as Danny's secret rebellion threatens to tear the family apart. The comfortable facade of the Morgan household crumbles in shocking fashion as Jason Morgan discovers a dangerous secret that will shake the foundation of his relationship with his son. In a pivotal moment of explosive tension, Jason learns that his children Danny, Rocco, and Charlotte have committed an act of serious defiance that forces him to confront hard truths about his teenage son's growing independence and rebellious nature. The shocking discovery. Jason returns home to discover the unthinkable. His 3 children have secretly broken into Dalton's laboratory without permission. The breach represents more than just youthful mischief or teenage curiosity. It's a calculated act of trespassing that puts all 3 children at legal and physical risk. For Jason, a man accustomed to controlling his environment and protecting his family at all costs, the discovery hits like a physical blow. The laboratory break-in wasn't a spontaneous decision made in a moment of thoughtlessness. This was planned. Someone orchestrated it. Someone convinced the other 2 children to participate in this dangerous scheme. As the reality of the situation settles over him, Jason realizes this incident represents something far more troubling than he initially thought. It signals a breakdown in the trust and communication that he believed he had built with his children, particularly with his oldest son. The confrontation. Jason doesn't waste time with pleasantries. He finds Danny and immediately demands answers. His voice carries the weight of authority and barely controlled anger as he confronts his son face to face. "What were you thinking? Breaking into Dalton's lab?" Jason's voice is low and intense, the kind of quiet fury that cuts deeper than shouting ever could. "That's not some game, Danny. That's serious. That could have gotten you and your siblings arrested." But Danny remains silent. Despite his father's questioning, despite the obvious disappointment and anger radiating from Jason, Danny refuses to answer. He won't explain what they were looking for. He won't reveal who planned the break-in. He won't justify his actions or defend his choice. The silence is defiant, a teenager's ultimate weapon against parental authority. This refusal to cooperate only intensifies Jason's frustration. He can handle many things: danger, conflict, betrayal from enemies. But he struggles with this: his son's growing distance, his rebellion, his unwillingness to communicate and obey. In that moment, watching Danny's jaw clench in stubborn silence, Jason sees a boy he barely recognizes anymore. A father's breaking point. The tension in the room becomes suffocating. Jason paces, his mind racing through possibilities. Why would Danny break into a laboratory? What was he searching for? And most troublingly, why is his son lying to him? Why won't he explain himself? "Someone planned this," Jason says, his voice harder now. "Was it you? Did you come up with this idea?" He steps closer to Danny, searching his son's face for answers. "Or did someone put you up to this? Because I need to know who I'm dealing with here." Danny's refusal to answer speaks volumes. It's not just disobedience, it's a complete breakdown of the father-son relationship that Jason has struggled to maintain. Over months and years, Jason has watched his son grow more distant, more guarded, more resistant to authority. But this crosses a line. "You're spiraling," Jason finally says, his voice carrying the weight of a man who has run out of patience. "You're growing more and more reckless every single day. I don't even recognize you anymore. Danny, the son I raised would never do something this stupid, this dangerous." The words hang in the air between them like a physical force. Jason isn't just angry about the break-in, he's frightened by what his son is becoming. He's watching his child transform into someone he can barely understand, someone he can't control or protect anymore. The breaking point. As the argument escalates, as Danny's silence continues and his defiance becomes more pronounced, something inside Jason snaps. The careful restraint he's maintained throughout their conversation shatters. In a moment of pure rage and desperation, Jason raises his hand. The slap echoes through the room. It's not a gentle correction. It's a violent expression of paternal fury, a father who has lost control, responding to a son who refuses to listen. The impact stuns them both. For Jason, The moment is immediately regrettable. A line crossed that can't be uncrossed. For Danny, it's validation of everything he's been feeling. That his father doesn't respect him, doesn't trust him, only seeks to control him through force and intimidation. Danny's face flushes, a mixture of shock, pain, and white-hot anger washing over his features. The defiance that has characterized his silence transforms into something more dangerous, into genuine rage. This isn't a teenager being punished for misbehavior. This is a young man being struck by his own father, a violation of the most basic trust. Danny's departure. That's it, Danny says, his voice sharp and cold in a way that cuts through Jason's immediate regret. I'm done. Without another word, without waiting for Jason to respond or apologize or explain, Danny turns and leaves. He doesn't slam the door dramatically, that would be too theatrical, too performative. Instead, he leaves quietly, which somehow makes his departure even more final. It's the exit of someone who has made a decision and won't be swayed by explanations or excuses. Jason watches his son leave, the weight of what he's done settling heavily on his shoulders. The man who has fought countless enemies, who has navigated dangerous criminal underworlds, who has sacrificed everything for his family, he has just driven his own son away through a moment of uncontrolled rage. The silence that follows Danny's departure is deafening. Jason stands alone in the room where the confrontation took place, confronting the reality of his actions. He can see it now with brutal clarity. The slap wasn't just about this moment. It was the culmination of months of tension, frustration, and a father's inability to understand the changes happening in his teenage son. It was a manifestation of Jason's desperate need to maintain control in a situation that has spiraled beyond his ability to manage. Questions and consequences. In the wake of Danny's departure, several critical questions remain unanswered. What was Danny searching for in Dalton's laboratory? Why were Rocco and Charlotte involved? Who orchestrated this plan? And what is their connection to Danny? But more importantly, what comes next? How will Jason repair the damage that has been done? Can a slap, delivered in anger, be forgiven? And will Danny's departure be temporary, a dramatic exit that precedes a reconciliation, or is this the beginning of something more permanent? The incident also raises uncomfortable questions about parenting, control, and the line between discipline and abuse. Jason, a man defined by his protective instincts, has used physical violence against his own son. That fact won't be easily forgotten or forgiven, either by Danny or by others who may learn of what transpired. What lies ahead? As the drama unfolds, viewers are left wondering what will happen next. Will Danny return home? Will Jason apologize and attempt to rebuild their relationship? Will the truth about the laboratory break-in finally emerge, providing context and explanation for Danny's rebellion? The real tragedy of this moment is that it represents a family in crisis, a father and son who have lost the ability to communicate, to trust, to understand one another. Jason's anger, though understandable, has pushed Danny away at precisely the moment when the young man needs guidance and support, not violence and intimidation. For General Hospital fans, this confrontation marks a significant turning point. The relationships that define this family are being tested in ways that will have lasting consequences. And as Danny disappears into the night, Jason is left to contemplate the terrible choices that led to this moment and to wonder if his relationship with his son can survive the fallout. Next, we will learn about the issue that has been dividing the fanbase and igniting passionate debates across social media platforms, the controversial romance between Drew Cain and Willow Tate. To characters whose connection has become one of the most polarizing storylines in recent General Hospital history. The relationship between these two Port Charles residents has fans either completely invested or utterly repulsed, with very little middle ground in between. Drew Cain, the former Navy SEAL with a complicated past and even more complicated present, has found himself entangled with Willow Tate, the sweet school teacher turned complicated woman who seems to make questionable decisions at every turn. Their pairing has sparked countless online discussions. heated forum debates, and impassioned viewer reactions that range from supportive to downright hostile. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of this tumultuous relationship is that despite all their glaring flaws and problematic behaviors, they might actually be the perfect match for one another in the twisted world of daytime drama. The toxic duo nobody asked for, Drew and Willow, have become the embodiment of everything fans love to hate about soap opera couples. Their individual actions throughout Port Charles have been nothing short of shocking, leaving viewers scratching their heads and wondering what the writers were thinking when they decided to push these two together. Drew, who once was portrayed as a heroic figure and honorable man, has devolved into someone almost unrecognizable from his earlier character traits. His transformation from respected veteran to manipulative schemer has been jarring, to say the least. The incident where Drew screamed at young Danny Morgan sent shockwaves through the viewing audience. Here was a grown man, supposedly a role model, and someone who had been through military training emphasizing discipline and restraint, completely losing control and directing his anger at a child. This wasn't just a momentary lapse in judgment, it revealed something darker lurking beneath Drew's polished exterior. The scene was uncomfortable to watch, with many fans taking to social media to express their disgust at seeing an adult berate a young boy who is simply caught in the crossfire of adult drama. Meanwhile, Willow's behavior has been equally disturbing in its own unique way. The image of her hovering over a baby's crib with an intensity that crossed the line from maternal concern into something far more unsettling became a defining moment for her character. This wasn't the loving, nurturing schoolteacher that fans had initially embraced. This was someone whose obsessive tendencies had manifested in ways that made viewers genuinely uncomfortable. The stalking behavior, the inability to maintain appropriate boundaries, and the justification of her actions all pointed to someone who needed serious help rather than romantic entanglement. What makes their pairing particularly fitting is that by being together, they spare to innocent people from being subjected to their respective brands of dysfunction. It's almost like a public service keeping these two problematic individuals contained within their own relationship bubble means they're not inflicting their issues on unsuspecting partners, who might actually deserve better. In the grand scheme of Port Charles relationships, this pairing functions as a kind of romantic quarantine, keeping the chaos centralized rather than spreading it throughout the community. The devotion that defies logic. Despite all of Drew's numerous and significant flaws, there exists one undeniable truth that even his harshest critics must acknowledge: no one in Port Charles worships at the altar of Willow Tate quite like Drew Cain does. His devotion to her borders on the obsessive. But in a soap opera landscape where grand gestures and over-the-top declarations of love are currency, Drew's commitment to Willow stands out even among the most dramatic pairings. Drew's toxic masculinity and problematic behavior patterns are well documented at this point, but his dedication to Willow remains unwavering through every scandal and controversy. When the entire town seems ready to turn against her, Drew stands as her immovable defender, her knight in admittedly tarnished armor. He doesn't just support her, he actively shields her from consequences, fights her battles, and positions himself as the one person in her corner, no matter how justified the criticism against her might be. The elephant in the room, of course, is Drew's monumentally poor decision to sleep with Nina Reeves, who happens to be Willow's mother. This betrayal represents perhaps the single biggest misstep in Drew's pursuit of Willow's affection, and it's a massive one that cannot be easily dismissed or forgiven. The sheer audacity of becoming romantically involved with your love interest's mother demonstrates a level of poor judgment that defies explanation. Yet even this colossal error in judgment hasn't completely derailed Drew's devotion to Willow, though it has certainly complicated matters exponentially. Looking at their dynamic through a slightly different lens, one could argue that Drew provides Willow with something she desperately needs: unconditional support from someone who will never question her choices or hold her accountable for her actions. In a world where Willow faces judgment from multiple fronts, Drew offers a safe harbor where she can retreat without fear of criticism or consequences. This type of ride-or-die loyalty while potentially enabling unhealthy behaviors, represents a form of security that Willow has sought throughout her tumultuous journey in Port Charles. The dysfunction embedded in their relationship is obvious to anyone paying attention. They don't challenge each other to grow or become better versions of themselves. Instead, they exist in a feedback loop where their worst impulses are validated and their questionable choices are defended rather than examined. Yet there's something to be said for the fierce loyalty Drew demonstrates, the willingness to burn bridges and make enemies in defense of the woman he loves. Perhaps with time and effort, Willow could channel Drew's devotion into something more positive, encouraging him toward redemption while he provides her with the unwavering support she craves. The villain who found his heart. Drew Cain has descended into such cartoonish villainy that he practically twirls an invisible mustache with every scheme he concocts. His transformation from hero to antagonist has been so complete that fans have started keeping a running tally of his misdeeds, each one more outrageous than the last. He's become the character everyone loves to hate, the man whose downfall viewers eagerly anticipate with each passing episode. His blackmail schemes have become legendary in their audacity and scope. Drew doesn't just engage in minor manipulation, he goes for the jugular, using people's deepest secrets and darkest moments against them without a shred of remorse. His position as a congressman, which should represent honor and public service, has instead become a platform for corruption and abuse of power. The irony of a supposed public servant engaging in such flagrantly unethical behavior while holding elected office isn't lost on viewers who watch in horror as Drew continues his descent into moral bankruptcy. The enemies Drew has accumulated during his villainous arc read like a Port Charles phone book. He's managed to incense nearly every major player in town through his schemes, betrayals, and manipulations. When speculation ran rampant about who might want to shoot Drew during the shooter storyline, the real question wasn't who would want to pull the trigger, it was who wouldn't. The list of people with legitimate grievances against him had grown so extensive that narrowing down suspects became an exercise in futility. Yet amid all this darkness and moral corruption, there exists a single point of light in Drew's character: his genuine love for Willow Tate. Strip away the blackmail, the political corruption, the screaming at children, and the countless other transgressions, and what remains is a man capable of sincere emotion and deep affection. His love for Willow represents the last thread connecting Drew to his humanity, the final evidence that somewhere beneath the villainous exterior beats the heart of someone capable of authentic feeling. This is where the argument for Drew and Willow as a couple finds its strongest footing. They are both deeply flawed individuals who have made terrible choices and hurt people around them. They've crossed lines that shouldn't be crossed and demonstrated behaviors that range from troubling to outright disturbing. But they are still human beings deserving of love and connection, even if that connection exists in a dysfunctional bubble of their own making. Willow once demonstrated the capacity to see beyond Drew's faults to the man underneath, to recognize potential for goodness even when his actions suggested otherwise. Perhaps she could find that perspective again, choosing to focus on the parts of Drew that genuinely love her rather than the multitude of problematic behaviors he exhibits. And while Drew's ways of showing love may be unconventional and often deeply misguided, the sincerity of his feelings cannot be denied by even the most critical observer. The question posed to General Hospital fans remains provocative and divisive: are Willow and Drew the ultimate soap couple? The answer likely depends on what criteria one uses to define ultimate. If we're measuring by drama, controversy, and ability to generate passionate viewer reactions, they certainly qualify. If we're looking for a relationship that challenges conventional morality while somehow remaining oddly compelling, Drew and Willow deliver in spades. They may not be the couple anyone asked for, but in the chaotic, morally ambiguous world of Port Charles, they might just be the couple that makes the most sense to imperfect people finding imperfect love in an imperfect world. Next, we will learn about the issue that has General Hospital fans buzzing across social media platforms and igniting fierce debates about wealth, responsibility, and celebrity culture in today's society. Nancy Lee Grant takes a bold stand. This week, the drama unfolded not on the General Hospital set, but on Instagram, where veteran actress Nancy Lee Grant unleashed a passionate critique that sent shockwaves through the entertainment community. The Emmy-nominated star, beloved for her portrayal of the sharp-tongued attorney Alexis Davis, demonstrated that her real-life persona matches her on-screen character's fearless approach to justice and accountability. Grant came out swinging against some of the world's wealthiest individuals, specifically targeting those who chose to attend an extravagant birthday celebration hosted by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos for reality television mogul Kris Jenner. The actress, who has built a reputation over her decades-long career for speaking truth to power and never shying away from controversial topics, directed her fury at what she perceived as tone-deaf displays of extreme wealth during a time when countless Americans are struggling to make ends meet. Her Instagram post quickly became a lightning rod for discussion, drawing thousands of comments from fans, critics, and fellow celebrities alike. The Marie Antoinette reference. What made Grant's criticism particularly biting was her deliberate use of historical satire to make her point. She sarcastically referred to the star-studded event as a let-them-eat-cake party, invoking the infamous phrase attributed to Marie Antoinette, the last queen of France before the French Revolution. While the party was actually themed around the James Bond franchise, complete with tuxedos, martinis, and spy-themed decorations, Grant's choice to reframe it through this historical lens was intentional and powerful. The reference to Marie Antoinette carries deep symbolic weight, as the phrase has become synonymous with the callous indifference of the wealthy elite toward the suffering of ordinary people. According to historical accounts, when told that the peasants had no bread to eat during a time of widespread famine, Marie Antoinette allegedly replied, "Let them eat cake," demonstrating a complete disconnect from the harsh realities facing her subjects. By drawing this parallel, Grant was suggesting that today's billionaires are equally out of touch with the struggles facing everyday Americans. The Instagram post that started it all. Grant shared a photograph on her Instagram account that captured several of the ultra-wealthy attendees at Bezos' lavish celebration. The image featured Kris Jenner, the matriarch of the Kardashian-Jenner empire, alongside Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, pediatrician and philanthropist Priscilla Chan. The three were photographed looking glamorous and carefree, clearly enjoying the exclusive festivities that reportedly cost millions of dollars to orchestrate. In her caption, Grant didn't hold back, writing that these billionaires were whooping it up while the country faces multiple crises. She pointed out that the same night as this extravagant party, the Baby to Baby Gala was taking place, an important charity event dedicated to providing essential items to children living in poverty across America. The contrast between the two events couldn't have been starker, one celebrating wealth and excess, the other raising funds to help the most vulnerable members of society. The Baby to Baby Gala connection. The timing of these two events created a natural point of comparison that Grant seized upon with full force. The Baby to Baby Gala is one of the most important charitable events in the Hollywood calendar, bringing together celebrities, philanthropists, and business leaders who are committed to making a difference in the lives of impoverished children. The organization provides diapers, clothing, formula, and other basic necessities to children living below the poverty line, serving over 1 million children annually across every state in America. Interestingly, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle managed to attend both events on the same evening, demonstrating that it was logistically possible for the billionaires to show their support for both celebrations. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex made an appearance at the Baby to Baby Gala before heading to Bezos' party, showing that one didn't have to choose between social responsibility and social connections. This fact made Grant's criticism even more pointed. If Harry and Meghan could make it to both, why couldn't Zuckerberg and the other billionaires? As for Nancy Lee Grant herself, with an estimated net worth of approximately $3 million accumulated over her impressive career in daytime television, it remains unclear whether she attended the charity gala. However, General Hospital fans were quick to note that her co-star Cameron Matheson was definitely present at the baby-to-baby event, photographed on the red carpet and participating in the fundraising efforts. The social and political context. Gran's criticism didn't exist in a vacuum. It emerged during a particularly turbulent time in American society. Her post referenced multiple crises facing the nation, painting a picture of a country on fire while the wealthy elite partied behind closed doors. She specifically mentioned families being denied food assistance, a likely reference to proposed cuts to social safety net programs and the ongoing debates about SNAP benefits and food insecurity affecting millions of American households. The actress also highlighted the healthcare crisis, noting that people are about to die because they can't afford their healthcare, a harsh reality in a country where medical bankruptcy remains a leading cause of financial ruin and where millions remain uninsured or underinsured despite various healthcare reform efforts. This statement resonated with countless Americans who have experienced the terror of choosing between paying for life-saving medications and putting food on the table. Additionally, Gran appeared to reference a government shutdown that was affecting numerous federal workers and contractors at the time, leaving many without paychecks while their bills continued to pile up. The juxtaposition of government workers struggling to pay rent while billionaires spent millions on parties created a narrative of economic injustice that struck a chord with many of her followers. Fan reactions pour in. As expected from any post touching on politics and wealth inequality, Gran's Instagram statement generated an avalanche of responses from all sides of the political and social spectrum. The comment section quickly became a battleground of competing ideologies, with some praising her courage to speak out and others condemning what they saw as misplaced criticism. One particularly vocal commenter pushed back against Gran's narrative, writing, "I have to disagree. People should be able to celebrate their birthday. They aren't politicians and we don't know what's being done behind the scenes." This response encapsulated a common counter-argument that private citizens, even extremely wealthy ones, have the right to celebrate personal milestones however they choose, and that visible public displays don't necessarily reflect their total philanthropic efforts. Others rallied to Gran's defense, arguing that extreme wealth comes with social responsibility and that billionaires have a moral obligation to prioritize charitable work, especially during times of national crisis. These supporters pointed out that the combined net worth of just the people photographed in Gran's post could solve numerous social problems if redirected toward meaningful causes. The verification question. Gran's specific claim that Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan skipped the baby-to-baby gala to attend Bezos' party raised questions about factual accuracy. A thorough search of images from the charity event revealed no photographs of the couple in attendance, and media coverage from outlets like Harper's Bazaar confirmed that they were present at Jenner's birthday celebration but made no mention of them attending the gala. This absence of evidence suggesting they attended both events, unlike Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who were documented at both, lent credibility to Gran's criticism. However, it also raised the broader question of whether it's appropriate to publicly shame wealthy individuals for their personal choices regarding how they spend their time and money. The deeper philosophical debate. Gran's post, whether intentionally or not, invited General Hospital fans and the broader public to engage with fundamental questions about wealth, power, and social responsibility in contemporary America. On one level, her caption challenged ABC viewers to consider whether ostentatious displays of wealth carry public symbolism beyond mere personal expression. She essentially argued that when you reach a certain level of wealth and influence, your actions are no longer purely private. They send messages about values and priorities to millions of people. The real-life Alexis Davis seemed determined to push conversations about extravagance and social consciousness to the forefront of public discourse. What she accomplished was focusing ABC fans' attention on what many perceive as out-of-touch luxury existing alongside devastating public suffering. Her post asked whether billionaires have a responsibility to use their platforms and resources for the greater good, or whether they should be free to enjoy their wealth without judgment. On the opposing side of this debate, as one follower astutely pointed out, the general public rarely has complete visibility into the charitable work and private donations that wealthy individuals make behind the scenes. Many billionaires, including Zuckerberg and Chan through their philanthropic initiatives, have pledged billions to various causes including education, healthcare, and scientific research. Not everyone sees themselves as political activists or believes that their personal celebrations should be subject to public scrutiny and moral judgment. Final thoughts on the controversy. The incident raises important questions that deserve serious consideration from General Hospital fans and the general public alike. Is it acceptable to publicly criticize and shame extremely wealthy individuals for attending private parties instead of charity events? Does immense wealth come with corresponding social obligations that supersede personal freedom? And where do we draw the line between holding the powerful accountable and unfairly judging people's private choices? Nancy Lee Grand's willingness to ask these difficult questions, even at the risk of controversy and backlash, reflects the same fearless spirit that has made her such a compelling presence both on General Hospital and in the public sphere. Whether you agree with her perspective or not, she has succeeded in generating meaningful conversation about issues that affect millions of Americans every single day. What do you think about Nancy's bold post that called out billionaires for partying extravagantly while skipping the charity gala dedicated to helping impoverished children?